Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild and Uncut podcast, brought to you by Ruger. I'm your host, Kristy Titus. Thank you for tuning in. The line is going hot, so let's go full send on this episode. Across America, freedom is more than a word. It's a way of life. Generations of grit rest in the hands of those who build, defend, and sustain. Crafted to endure, tested in the wild, and relied upon at home, the next generation of the Ruger American Rifle is a bold evolution of precision and rugged reliability for responsible owners, today and for generations to come. With OnX Hunt, those who wander are never lost. Public and private land ownership, offline functionality, and 3D mapping allow me to hunt with confidence. And the elite membership comes included with draw odds and unit trends with hunt research tools, a membership to Hunt and Fool, plus a membership to Hunt Reminder to ensure you never miss a draw deadline. Download the OnX Hunt app and start your trial today. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wild and Uncut podcast. I am here in Buffalo, Wyoming with my friend, Julia Sugg. And Julia and I met at, Bryce Canyon Mule Days a year and a half ago.
2 years.
Has it been 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it was
year
and a
right.
half. Yeah, year and a half, yeah. But we've been to 2 Bryce Canyons at the same time. And you were living in Montana. And I told you how great it is in Wyoming. And next thing you know, your trailer and your mules are in Wyoming.
Yeah. And my husband had 2 hunts with friends in Wyoming in between then. And so between your advice and the hunting he had with friends, we had to move.
Oh, so great here.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you moved because there's not a lot of people like us that are ride and mule obsessed, and so when you find a kindred spirit, you cling to that. And there's not everybody really understands the mule talk and enjoys it or appreciates it quite the same, and gets the same level of it's very exciting.
Yeah. And there's no ride that's too long.
No.
There's no ears that are too long.
No. And I live vicariously through you sometimes, and
same.
It's really fun, and we've inspired each other over the course of the last year and a half, which is super awesome. So yeah, give everybody a little bit of background. This podcast, you guys don't know, we're talking about endurance riding, and riding mules in general. And Julia, tell the listeners / viewers a little bit about your background with mules and riding.
Well, mules is fairly new. It's only in the last 5 years, but riding has been since I was tiny. And I can remember probably
this cat just scared me to death. And Jennifer, it was like back here all of a sudden. Sorry, it startled me.
It's
okay.
Marmalade kitten.
Yeah.
But I've been riding my whole life, and probably in my early teens, I became aware of endurance, and it was something I always wanted to do. And in my 20s, I did a couple of rides. But I wasn't a member. I didn't really completely connect with it. I loved it, but then moved away from that location and didn't get back into endurance until my 40s. But to me, it's just the ultimate connection. Mm-hmm. And like you, I'm an athlete, have done a lot of athletic things in my life.
You're a yoga instructor and
I've done triathlons and marathons and bike races, and So managing myself through athletic endeavors is super interesting, but then managing an animal that's your partner and keeping them healthy and safe, and then the partnership that develops in the training and in the events is just, it's really unequaled in my experience.
I would agree with that. I was having a hard time. I've owned Cora now for almost 2 years. And
I wanted to buy her when we first met.
Well, she's so cute. But I've had a really hard time connecting with her. And the gentleman I bought her from was like, yeah, you know, I loved Molly, but I never really loved Cora. I liked Cora. And the first, year and a half, she's been really hard to catch. And I'm just like, I don't know if I like you. And she's like, I don't know if I like you. And then we did endurance together. And now she's like first one to get caught. And I like her now. And I think she likes me. And you're right, this partnership that forms that is only created through miles.
Yes.
And trust. It's like a mutual trust. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of me.
Well, and that also makes me think when years ago I was boarding at a farm with a trainer, and the trainer would tell me she probably had 20 horses in for training, and she would say, pay attention, a new one just came in. So she might be working with a new one twice a day and the others just once a day. Well, the new one would start out at the bottom of the pecking order. And then over the next week or so, as this new animal was integrated in and she was doing more, slowly worked its way up. And so whoever she was working with the most became the top horse. And I found it so interesting that our interactions with a herd affect their dynamics. Because I've always thought of it as something so separate. So now you see Cora acting differently because she's going and doing this really important job. And that's Meadow is at the very bottom of our herd, but she knows she's so important, and they know she's important. And in the last 2-3 weeks, as she's competed in a couple of rides, I see the herd treating her differently.
It's really fascinating. They are so Ty Evans, I don't want to get too far off your story, but really quickly, Ty Evans in TS Mules is our one of our, we've both done coaching with him. And he had us read this book called Kinship with All Life, or I don't think that's the name of it. And it was a really weird book about this man was trying to communicate with a dog.
Okay.
But it really made me pay attention to my energy.
Yeah.
With my animals and what, like Ty would always say, hey, if you're in a bad mood and you're angry, don't walk out to the barn like, oh, I'm in a hurry, I got to catch the mule. And the first thing they're like, he's coming to catch us. And they run and you're like, this is not the day. And you just have this energy. And it just really made me very aware.
Yeah, I love that.
And now when I see other people approach my equines with energy that I don't appreciate, I get very protective. Yeah. And it's really changed my perspective on who and how my equines are approached and in what capacity. Like if your energy's bad, like don't even.
Yeah, I love that.
Don't even try.
Stop. That's very, very yoga thinking.
Yes, it's very
and it fits with like when we did our ride together. It's like we're going to finish this and we're taking really good care of our mules. We're letting them eat when they need to. We're making sure they're drinking, and we're thinking that and expressing that, and they have to feel cared for.
Sure.
And then we feel cared for because they're doing this amazing thing for us.
For us. Yeah. So let's back up and keep exploring your journey. So your endurance, and I want to congratulate you because this weekend you completed your 1,000 competitive miles on the trail, which is a huge accomplishment because I have 160. No, I don't even know if I have 160. I have 120. I have 120. So you're like, you have 1,000 miles. That's significant.
It's really, I love AERC, the overseeing organization that puts on these rides for us. They celebrate 250 miles. They celebrate 500. My miles are a mix of the 25-mile and the 50-mile competitions. Now my goal is to get my 50-mile competitions, which are truly endurance. Get the endurance miles up to 1,000.
Yeah.
So together I have 1,000, but yeah, I want more endurance miles and
less
fewer LD. But with starting with the mules, I like to start on a 50, but with the mules I don't know.
Yeah.
Still, are they easier to manage metabolically? Are they harder? Will they drink less when we hunt and pack and trail ride?
Yeah.
But is it okay if they drink less when we're competing? I don't know yet. So Meadow actually drank 54 gulps of water.
You counted them.
Mm-hmm.
You're like 1.
I'm always aiming for 25.
Yeah.
And she took 41 at once. And then for the whole day it was 54. So I'm like, yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, learning, and so starting on a 50 without knowing, how much water, do you need electrolytes every 2 hours? Do you need them every hour?
Mm-hmm.
Every animal is different, and we just never want to make a mistake that causes an ailment or an illness.
Or
but that's
a disqualification.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, there's only been 2 rides that I haven't completed. And that's, so I'm not competitive in, the only part I'm super competitive about this is finishing with a healthy animal. And so I have 2 rides I didn't finish. One was on somebody else's older horse who had done Tevis 2 or 3 times, and he came up lame. So that's, and he had come up lame in other rides. So this was just a chance to see if he could still do his job, and he wanted to do his job. And then the other was a ride that wasn't marked well. And there were only like 7 people in this ride, and I was out there and I called for help, and they weren't able to come and help. And so I didn't finish that ride. But my goal would be not to ever be pulled for a metabolic issue that I've overridden, and the horse's pulse won't come down, or they're dehydrated, just a myriad of health problems that could happen. And so I'm really focused on my completion rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that I've because I had a 5-year break of competition, and now that I've come back, I really am hoping for decade team. So it's 2025. Meadow and Steel have each done something. 9 years to go.
Till your decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's a great goal, and I love that goal. So I have an Arabian, and I always wanted to do endurance, and I bought him, and I have AERC literature from when I bought him in 2002. Like, that's how long my horse is 23. And there's a lot of Arabians that are still competitive in endurance at that age.
Yeah.
Mine has had some falls, and he's just a little stiff in his hind end, and he has a hard time holding weight. I'm not trying with him. He's retired. But I've since I retired him, I bought Cora, my mule, which I'm doing endurance on. And I'm kind of weepy a little bit because I went all those years with this great horse and I never did it. And I thought this summer it was kind of like Cora and I had bought this mule, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take her and we're going to do pack strings and in the mountains. And she was a little too zippy for some of that stuff as far as riding her. Mm-hmm. She would get a little nervous about stuff rattling behind her, and she would bolt a little bit. And so last year I packed her for the year, and this year she just didn't have a lot of brakes, which I know you can relate to. And I thought, I just don't feel safe on her. And I guess part of it is I was intimidated because she wanted to go and do this job that she'd been trained to do, and she's thinking she needs to be doing this, which endurance is not about being fast. It's about enduring. It's about going the course, staying healthy, having a consistent pace, and being consistent. And some people do really race.
Yes.
That's not what we're doing. But and I took her to a trainer for the summer, and he rode her, and he got a good stop on her. And then I took her on a trail ride with horses that walked 2 miles an hour. And it was fine going in because we climbed like 4,000 vertical. It was a straight climb, and we were out front, and so we would just go, and then we'd stop and wait, and she'd eat grass, and she was fine. On the way out, we were in back, and it took me 10 miles of rolling the hinds, rolling the fronts, and rolling the hinds, and rolling the fronts, and she was up, and her head was up, and her ears are back, and she's listening to me, and she's like, okay, what are we doing? Why are we going so slow? This is ridiculous. And she was so annoyed with me, and I'm like, this is the worst job for her. She hates it. And I always thought she hated endurance because she was hard to catch when I bought her. So I was like, well, she must have hated that, so she's going to love this. But then I was riding her, and we just couldn't get along.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not working. And I came to this point at the end of July where I was like, I'm either going to sell her
to me,
or I have to find something to do with her that we can have a relationship.
Right.
Because I don't dislike her. She's great. She packs deer.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. She's sweet. She doesn't buck, which is amazing. I love that. Like, she's
no bucking is the best.
No bucking is great. No bucking. You know, I can put a deer on her. She doesn't rear. She's great, but she's just a little too much gas for what I'm doing. And then I entered this ride by myself, and we did it. And I learned she's actually kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, this is so random. Like, so she's too peppy for the 2 mile an hour trail ride, but she's kind of lazy for endurance. And I'm like, we just figured this out. We're just going to do with endurance. And then I did a ride with you, and it was just such a blessing because there's so much to learn. Cora finished our first 2 rides with her 1,000 mile, and you now have your 1,000 miles. So you and Cora are like, you two are on the same page. You guys are like kindred spirits. You should have had Cora, actually, probably. I'm pretty sure of it, but I snuck in there somehow.
No, it's worked out perfect. But that's totally a misperception. And it was interesting because I've been kind of on this, as we've gotten mules for hunting and packing and extreme trail riding, each one of them I really wanted to do endurance with, and had one that we got really close and thought was going to work out. But people kept trying to send me and sell me mules that were really fast. Yeah. And I'm like, so I don't need fast. I need willing.
Yeah. Mentally.
I need this willingness, and I need an interest in moving forward. So like Davy Crockett, our original mule, he worked for Black Mountain Outfitters for many years, and he's a true professional, and he says, we do not trot. I carry packs. I carry people that don't know how to ride, and this is my profession. Well, I'm not going to ask him. He doesn't want to do it. But finding a mule that is just comfortable moving out. Yeah, I didn't want a fast, crazy.
No, you don't want to feel unsafe. We're too old for that.
Yes.
We don't need to be unsafe.
No, and I'm like 14 years older than you, so yeah, I definitely don't want to feel unsafe.
No, and what's so funny, so you have been like joking, I'll buy Cora, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm going to work this out. And I got to this tipping point where like me and her are not working this out. We have to figure this out. And now we're best friends.
Yeah.
Which is so sweet because we have this connection now, which is awesome.
Right. She's like, you're doing what I do. And isn't it fun?
Exactly. And I'll kind of tell the listeners that story of our first ride morning in a second. But what I love about you and your story is you've been searching. You've been looking, like, I've got to find a mule. I've got to find an endurance mule.
5 years.
5 years, and you have these 2 mules in your pasture. And this is where I want the viewers to relate.
Yeah, well, like Steel. We've had Steel for 4 years.
Yeah.
And when I first got him, I thought, oh, he might do endurance. But he's
a draft.
He's definitely a draft mule. He's got tiny nostrils. He's heavy.
He's big boned.
His sides kind of are flabby, even though he's really fit. He, when he trots, he bounces. He slams his feet into the earth instead of using the earth to push off of. I mean, he's just big and heavy. And so I ruled him out. And then thankfully so this spring, Andy, my husband, and I, we were training together, and Steel was doing well. Andy was riding Steel. He was doing well, but he seemed to get short of breath. His tiny little nostrils. And I was just focused on Meadow, who I'd recently traded for a bucking. I traded a bucking mule for this quiet mule.
Yes.
And
And she had like lumpy butt syndrome.
Yeah.
Like she
looked
was
like metabolic.
She looked like she had like Cushing's or something. Like she was like she looked like an obese mule when you got her. Like she was fat. She had fatty deposits everywhere.
No, she was not attractive. But it was funny. The very first time I trotted her, I said to Andy, "This is a 50 miler. This is my endurance mule." Mm-hmm. But she had a lot of behaviors on the ground that made her unsafe. Like, there's my buddy. I'm going to drag you 50 feet over there. Mm-hmm. So we had some things to work on. So I wanted to start in June, but put it off. Well, by happen chance, when you did your ride a month ago, and then I'm like, oh, I have 3.5 weeks to get mine ready again. Let's get back on the trotting. So it had been a couple months since we'd done trotting, but we've been climbing mountains. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that
long, slow distance.
Yeah, hills and long days are what you need. So I carry my stethoscope, and all 3 times I would hop off, and Steele, with Andy on him and his Western saddle, was pulsing down faster than Meadow with me and my tiny little saddle.
And you're like 80 pounds, and Andy's like much larger than you.
So yeah, Steele has now done 2 limited distance, and he pulses down faster than Meadow. Mm-hmm. And he loves it. But yeah, for 4 years, I got married on this mule. He's a special mule. You
just overlooked them. Yeah,
I overlooked him. And when you read about, what is the perfect animal? Oh, well, and an Arab is always going to fall in the description, of course, but you can do it with any horse, but like large nostrils are very helpful.
Yes.
So I just ruled him out right away. You'll now every time you see him, all you'll see is his
little nostrils. Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to hold this against you, Steele. You might be daddy long legs, but you have small nostrils. So this is what's really funny is I don't want listeners or people out there that have an equine, whether it be a mule or a horse, to think, oh, I can't do that. At Black Hills, a quarter horse took best condition.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of
and
all
a quarter
of
horse won Tevis for many, many years at the beginning. And I think, like, one thing that I think about, I think it's you wanted to do it for so long on Fury and didn't. It's an intimidating sport to get into because, like, oh, I want a barrel race. Well, go barrel race. You can sign up for a rodeo. You can take lessons. They're more accessible. There's fewer. At one point, I mean, I don't know the numbers now, but there might be 1,500 endurance riders in America, and we're all spread out. Yeah. So it's not a very big sport. So it's harder to get into, and then the conditioning is really, I mean, how, and you can talk to a million different people, and there's a lot of different ways to condition, but how I have done it for many years is once you start competing, they're actually fit. So this would be pre-competition. If you do 1 hill workout a week, whatever that looks like. When I lived in Hill Country, Texas, I hiked for 2 hours up and down the same hill, leading them. Mm-hmm. That was my hill workout. And then I did 1 day of dressage, and then I did like a 6 to 12 mile trot once a week. And that's it. Mm-hmm. It's like, then you're good for 25s.
Yeah.
So it's not, and then every now and then you do a really long, I'm going to go on an all-day trail ride and just enjoy the ride. So it's much more accessible than I feel like a lot of people think, and you say, well, I'm going to go 25 miles, so I've got to trot 25 before I do this. No, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. Save the muscles.
Yes. Well, and there is a plan for it. Luckily, Cora had been rode from when we left Bryce Canyon. She was rode all summer, like 4 or 5 days a week by a much larger rider than me with a big Western saddle. So she had an extra 100 pounds on easy.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lot of long, slow trail rides and some arena work. And so she was legged up. Like when I got her at the end of July and I'm on her, she's like, wee! And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, we are not getting along right now. Like, she was so excited. And I was like, this is so not going to work. Like, and then I was almost disappointed. Like, I just put all this extra money and training in this mule, and I still don't like her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I made this decision. It's like, okay, I have to figure out this mule. I'm either going to love doing endurance and I'm going to ride with her and we're going to go do trails, or I'm going to sell her. That's literally why I was like, it's either we're going to figure it out or she's going. And I was so heartbroken because the weeks before going to Spruce in Colorado, that ride, I tried to take her out by myself and ride her. Mm-hmm. And she was so excited that I couldn't even get her to stand still to mount. Mm. And she was a handful. And I was like, I can't even get on her. Yeah. Like, one of the foundations that Ty teaches in mulemanship and in our master class is that you start from the beginning every time. And it starts with catching with quality, going through your groundwork checklist, standing still to saddle, which she was doing great at. Standing still to mount is non-negotiable. Yeah. If they don't stand still to mount, you don't get on them. So you can't ride if you can't get on them. And here I am, hauled out, and I can't even get on my mule. And so I spent miles across this river bottom doing walking circles out and back. And then I finally got her to calm down where I could get on her. And I was like, I'm done. Okay, I'm going to take her back now. Because we'd spent our whole training session doing groundwork, just getting her mind. And so much of working with mules and equines in general is mental. I watched this man get on a horse at one of the rides, and his wife had to block him with her horse. Yeah. And they were elderly, and he ended up falling off, and he got hurt because his horse wouldn't stand still to mount because he never went through the mental, right? Like getting that mental, no, this is what we do. This is the order, and having that standard. And so I was calling my accountability partner through masterclass, and I was crying. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this ride? I can't even get on my mule. I'm afraid to ride her by myself. She's too much. I was scared. Like, she was just so much, and she's such an athlete. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. And I loaded her in my trailer. This is the dumbest thing. It's the greatest thing also. I loaded her in my trailer purely on faith. And I hauled her down to Colorado. I called you. I'm like, I'm doing an endurance ride. And you're like, no. What? I'm like, can you go? You're like, no. I'm like, I'm doing this. Well, I had to. I had no choice. I mean, like, I was either. I was.
You reached a crossroads with her.
Correct. Yeah. Like, we're either going to figure this out or we're going to go the other way. We're going to just part company. And I liked her too much to part. And in endurance, I think, one of the intimidation factors when you show up and you're like, hi, I'm Kristy. I'm a new rider. I've never done this before. Can I ride with you tomorrow? And then everybody looks at you and they're like, yeah, no. Yeah. And you're like, oh, because you don't get it, right? Like, you don't get it that an endurance ride is truly a horse and rider sport. It's typically not a team thing because people get injuries, right? Pace different, handle heat different, eat different, all the things that happens with your equine partnership, it becomes very individual. And so I show up at this ride and I want to ride with somebody because I'm terrified. And they had what was called a shotgun start, where 20 of us go out a half a mile from camp because there was railroad tracks we had to cross. So they had a leader lead us out, and everybody started at the shotgun start. And I told the ladies, I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, And I'm like, they're like, yeah, we'll just ride over there and we're going to go shotgun start. Everybody's going to take off. And I'm like, running? Like 20 horses taken out across the prairie. I can't even get on my mule. What are you talking about? I'm like, mentally, I'm like freaking out. But I was so surprised at my mule. I got there, and Cora the first night made me a little nervous because she was pacing frantically, screaming. And I was like, oh, gosh, this is going to be so bad in the morning. Like, so bad. But I saddled her up at the trailer, and she was pretty good. She cried a couple of times, but she wasn't out of control. She was pretty good. She wasn't perfect, but she was pretty good. And we walked over to the start line where we were meeting as a group, and she was really relaxed. And I thought, okay, this is good. And I had a woman tell me, she goes, look, Kristy, just go out there and ride the ride. Cora has almost 1,000 miles. Yeah. She knows what she's doing. She's like, you're on a mule. They have a strong sense of self-preservation. She knows what to do. Just get on her and ride. She's going to take care of you. And so when I got to that shotgun start and these 20 horses take out across this field, I was somewhere in the middle, and I just rode Cora. And she realized at some point we're not keeping up with the fast horses, but we weren't as slow as some of the other horses.
Yeah, she's perfect.
So we just were kind of in that mid zone, and we just did our ride. And she took care of me. And I was like, hey, she didn't spook. She didn't run off with me. She didn't buck.
She's doing what she wants to do.
We went, and then I didn't die. And I was like, hey, this is awesome. But it was, I want people to really understand, like, for me, like, I might seem super brave. I was terrified. Like, I was literally crying, like, I can't get on my mule. How am I supposed to do a 25-mile endurance ride where I am running and trotting? And I've never ran and trotted that long in my life. Also, for the record, I'm so blessed. The man I got her from, TJ, gave me all of her old endurance equipment and mentored me. And, told me what to do and all the things. And so that's where we kind of reconnected into, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this together. Well, and I'll have you know, I just finished the Fort Robinson ride in Nebraska, and such a neat historical site. But on Saturday night, a lady came up to me and she says, Julia, could I ride with you tomorrow? And I said, yes. Yeah. I said, let's start out together and let's take care of each other. And if it works and our animals work well together, we'll stay together. Sure. If the pace is really difficult, then we won't. And as it turned out, we finished together, and the pace was absolutely absurd. She was on a very fast gated, it was a Rocky Mountain, much faster than Meadow. And so she would be walking ahead. She'd stop and wait. I would trot up. I was walking down hills on my own feet, leading Meadow, giving her apples. She was, this lady was waiting. I mean, it was very discombobulated, but it was her first AERC ride.
So she wanted a partner.
And she wanted to understand. And she asked questions. And it was interesting because at the very end, 3-4 people passed us with maybe a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to go. And she said, oh, Julia, they've been behind us the whole time. And then now they pulled in front. Are they trying to place above us? And I was like, oh, maybe, maybe not. They may have stopped and eaten grass for a while. They may have, like, I don't know. And she said, so it's not rude what they just did. And I said, oh, no, not at all. Like, we're just riding our own ride. We're letting them eat. We're letting them drink. And the thing that I think is interesting, I have a lot of trust in ride managers. So I feel like if I can trot on my animal every place I need to trot, but I walk the places, like walk up the steep hills, walk down the steep hills, I should finish. And we should finish safe and in good condition. If I do all of those things and I'm over time, to me, that's not on me. That was a ride that was too hard. The ride manager, and this has never happened, so this is all in theory, right? But I'm sure it's happened somewhere. But then the ride wasn't the right distance, or it was too difficult to be able to do that. And so every ride I do, I'm just like, I can trot here, I trot here. I need to walk here, I walk here. And it always works.
And I got very fortunate on my first day. I'd say the first 10 miles, Cora and I were on ourselves alone. And we ended up catching up with a woman who was 83 years old, riding 23-year-old Arabians. She says this was her last ride. She had multi-decades on these horses, and she was a wealth of knowledge. And when I had caught up with her and her friend was riding her horse. So it was the lady had owned both the horses. I just said, look, I have no idea how to pace this mule. She's just going. And we've just been going at whatever pace Cora wants to do. We're just going. Can I follow you? And at that point, once she realized our pace was going to be okay. And so a lot of it is your equine compatible to ride with that equine? Because they're not going to wait for you, because there are some people that are racing.
Right.
They may not wait for you, potentially. Anyway, so I rode with this woman, and I was able to ask her questions, or what I didn't ask her, I was able to observe. So, like when we would get through rocks, like she would see rocky parts on the trail, she would talk to her horse, hey, slow down, or whatever cue she had, or easy going, or, whatever. I just say walk. But she had like a little command, and then she would signal to her friend with her hand, we're slowing down, so that her friend could visually prepare, because she might not be able to see what the obstacle was on the trail. And so I watched these two in verbal and nonverbal communication, how she rated around rocks and then when, where she loped and why and when she got off and led. And I learned so much. Like, it was fantastic to ride with her. And we finished out the first loop with her. And then on the second loop, Cora and I went out alone and finished that second loop alone. But it was really great just to learn from her and how she navigates. And then the same thing goes with riding with you. Like, how do I pace? When do I stop? How often do I let them eat grass? What are we, all these things, like, you just don't know, because if you let them eat grass for, 10 minutes, 3 times too many, you run out of time. You get time out. And Cora's really good about when we're walking, every minute she's stealing bites. Like, Andy's mule wasn't. So even when he was walking, he was just like, nice big belly walk going down the trail, but he wasn't eating. And so there's some things that
we had to stop.
Yes.
So Steele could eat. And then Meadow in the first ride, she couldn't eat with her bit in.
Yeah.
And even though I let her eat when we trail ride, and I'm always like, eat, because I knew we didn't do endurance someday. But in the ride yesterday, she was actually trotting and grabbing bites. And I would say grass. And she's now to the point where I can say grass. When I see a good piece of grass, she sees it, she grabs it, and then I tell her, good girl. So we have that neat communication.
She also has her mules trained where she holds a carrot in her hand and they reach around and she feeds them a carrot from the saddle. I tried to do that with treats, and Cora's like, what are you doing? Get away from me. Like, I'm not reaching back there getting stuff from, but I'm sure if I had a carrot, she would just take her a second and she'd be all over it. But she was like, what do you got going on back there? Stop doing this. What are you doing? But I don't want people to think it's an unwelcoming sport. It's not. It's just there are certain riders that are there to ride fast. And they may not want to ride with somebody that has a mule that's not racing.
Right.
But it's not that mules aren't competitive either.
Oh, no, not at all.
So I also don't want to discount that, because it's not necessarily speed. So, for example, for all of you kind of listening, on the limited distance rides, when you come in and you cross the time threshold, your time for the ride doesn't stop until your animal pulses down. It's often 60 beats a minute. If your mule or horse takes 5, 10, 15 minutes to pulse down, and other riders come in before you and they can walk by and pulse out immediately, they have just beat you in line, even though you were over the finish line first. Versus a 50-mile ride, if you cross that finish line on a race, you have 30 minutes to pulse down.
My preference.
Yeah.
I mean, I love 50s more anyway. And when we did our 30 together, and it was a really challenging 30, there was 4,000 feet of climbing in it. It was technical. It was wonderful. It was an excellent first ride for the mules, my mules, to know what endurance could be like. And then it gave me so much confidence. And this ride that I just did was much less climbing and a lot more open. But yeah, they learned so much.
Yeah. And the other thing is they often do an intro ride. So if you're wanting to go and just have the experience, run your horse through the vet checks just for like an intro for practice, you can do an intro ride. But also, just like, if you want to do a ride but you don't want to deal with as many people, the second day of a ride is often half as populated. So the first day, a lot of times, you'll have 50 horses between the LDs and the regular endurance ride. And day 2, you might have 25. So maybe if you're a first timer going on the second day, the other thing is, I've been listening to some podcasts about starting young horses, and you were talking about this with Meadow. I don't want her to see the finish line. And I thought, what is she talking about? But then I listened to these podcasts, and they don't, on a horse you're starting or a mule you're starting, not letting them be part of that start. Originally, you don't want them to get race brain,
right,
and learn they're in a race,
right? Because I'm not in a race.
Yes,
I'm in to finishes to win.
Yes,
but like, I had a problem with Steele on Saturday's ride because he was so easy in his first ride at Centennial in the Black Hills, and then at Fort Robinson, I just started with the group because he was so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And my first 15 miles, I did faster than I've done any 15 miles on any animal ever. Had no brakes, and he was a handful, and he was going to win, and he was a galloping mule. And I'm like, first, your nostrils can't support this. You are giant. We are hammering the ground. I was holding on to this little strap on the front of my saddle, and I was wishing I had put on my air vest, because all I was thinking is, if he goes faster trips or bounces to the side and I come off, my entire body will shatter. He's enormous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so now I will remanage him the next ride. He will be walked 5 minutes in the opposite direction and then walked out on trail and then trot, and he'll have to do it alone or with you.
Yeah.
But I'll have to manage him totally differently because he believes he's an Arabian
He
now.
got a little race brain.
Totally.
My mule does not have race brain.
It's wonderful.
She does not. She's like, Cora is such a sandbagger. She's so funny. So mules have a strong sense of self-preservation, and she knows, because her before I owned her, she would do back-to-back limited distance rides all summer, all ride season. So that's how she ended up with so many miles so quickly, is he would do LDs, 25-25 or 30-30. So she always did back-to-back rides. So she learned I have to save a little bit.
She learned to eat and drink.
She also learned to eat and drink.
Right, so which is sometimes takes them several rides. Steele is not eating. Well, he's eating well, but he's not drinking well yet. So by doing those back-to-backs, she learned how to take care of herself.
Yes, and how to rate her speed. So she knows that she's not, once those horses zoom by her, she's not like, I gotta get after them. She's just like, oh, they're gone, and I'm not keeping up. Even the second day at my first back-to-back, we did at Spruce. The second day on the last loop, we went out alone, and she decided she wasn't going to leave ride camp. We got out like a mile, and then she was like, no. And we had a mule moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm on a mule. And the ladies at ride camp tease me later. They're like, Cora's great, but she's still a mule. I'm like, yes, she is. I actually got off her and hand walked her for a minute. And then I was trying to get her to like buddy up to a horse that would pass by, and a couple went by, and she was like, nope. Like they were just moving too quickly, and she was smart enough to know their pace was too quick. And I found a slower horse and a really kind woman.
Yeah.
And she was like, I will ride with that horse. And I finally got her out. And it's a lot of it with the mules, especially with endurance, I don't think is if they're capable of doing it. It's convincing them mentally that they want to do it. Also.
Steele and I, on the second loop, I managed to borrow a nice pair of brakes from a friend, a different bit, because I ride in literally nothing, almost a halter. And so I got a Wonder bit to borrow, and it was wonderful.
Which is like a snaffle bit with just a little bit of a shank.
Yeah. And I actually didn't even need it. So like he left 80% on the field already.
Yeah. He had overrode himself.
Yes, he definitely did. And so I probably didn't need that bit, but it was good to have. But we set out, and then there was a gal that was just a little bit in front of us, and we tried to ride together. And Steele, we were kind of side by side, and Steele was like, no, that horse doesn't like me. And when the horse would look at him, Steele would step off to the side, because mules can be really deferential to horses. So he didn't like that. And then she got behind us, and then he was worried. And long story short, we ended up, 2 other Arabs joined us. We ended up in a foursome, but it took us 4 or 5 miles as we just kind of bounced around each other. And then this, I think it was a quarter horse, was in front, Steele, and the 2 Arabs in the last 5 miles were so steady and perfect, and we were all in our rhythm. But yeah, it was difficult to find a pocket to ride alone in this ride. So I don't yet know. I think he'd ride excellent alone, but it's, sometimes they need a buddy, and sometimes they don't. And then, it can be it's a individual sport, but then like I had a lady yesterday, we passed each other, played leapfrog multiple times, kind of like we did with that one gal. Lots of leapfrogging. And at one point she said, thank you for all your trail courtesy, because she couldn't cross the creek, and then Meadow crossed the creek, and then the horses crossed the creek, and we waited. And, so there's courteous things that you do for each other.
Yeah.
Oh, they went through a gate. We're a little ways away, but they still held the gate for us, and we all came through. So they didn't just shut the gate and get on and gallop off. We're at a water stop. Everybody stopped and waited to give them all a chance to drink. So there's a lot of courtesy among riders, and none of us want to be stuck with a group that isn't doing well together, but you make the best of it.
Yeah. And that's where everybody says, you have to ride your own ride. And one of the things that you and I did when we got lobbed up with some horses is we would just stop for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we let the mules eat. And we actually, on the first day, we stopped so much, we almost didn't complete. We were like, la, 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 eating grass. And because Steele wasn't eating good, and so
he needed that.
Yeah, we took a lot of time. We completed. We still placed extremely well because over half the riders didn't even complete day one. And then day two, you talk about having motivation. Like Cora, I was glad on day two of that 30 because that was a more challenging ride.
Very.
You were riding fresh mules both days, and I was glad on day two that she had fresh mules to follow because it would have been probably hard for me to. Part of the struggle is as a rider with a mule is getting them in your relationship to where they want to work that hard for you. And right now she'll do it for a buddy. I need to get our relationship at a place where she's like, I will work hard for you. Like my little mule Lynx, this is why I think she's going to be great at this. She's lazy. She shouldn't say she's lazy. She's just big and always been very slow. But she's got these big legs and stride, and she is so herd-bound. I thought, well, maybe if she wants, like Ty said to me, if she wants to work for them that hard, imagine what she'll do for you.
Oh, that's a neat concept.
When you flip that around, what she's willing to go through. I mean, she jumped a 5-foot fence at my house to get to her sister. Imagine her working that hard for me.
There's always Grand Prix jumping if this doesn't work out.
I know, like flat-footed my mule lumping a fence, 5 feet tall. Thanks. So I think there's also that too. It's building that relationship with your equine where they'll work that hard for you. And I'm not saying Cora wouldn't have done it. I was just worried about it. And maybe it's misplaced or displaced worry because, we did that other ride and on the last loop. But also that was looping at ride camp and they're leaving ride camp and that's harder.
Much harder. Much harder. I love that, thinking about it in that way. I feel like Meadow will do anything for me. Steele, on the other hand, is just doing it for himself. And I was a passenger. Yeah. So it would be interesting. And next season, I'm hoping Andy rides Steele. And then I'm on Meadow because he's just such a powerhouse. Yeah. And I've never felt smaller in my entire life.
He's a big... and you got him from Black Mountain Outfitters also, right?
They didn't actually use him, though. He was part of there was a real sad story. There was an outfitter that was killed, had a wreck on a four-wheeler in his home near Butte, and then all of his mules went to Black Mountain, but they held Steele back because he was a present to the wife. Oh. And so she had kept him for a while, but then it became painful to see him, and so then he went to Black Mountain, but they had already gone out, so he never worked with Scott and Sandy, but they let me know because I was like, we need another mule. We're addicted. Yeah. And they called and said, hey, we've got one that we think will be great for you.
And he is great.
He is great. He does everything and he's so much fun and
I call him Daddy Longlegs. He's so much faster than my mule Cora. It's unreal. Like he like if Julia wasn't so gracious on day one even, she would just leave us in the dust. But also in Cora's defense too, number one, she's got a great sense of self-preservation, so she's a little lazy. She definitely holds a lot back. But I didn't do any trot work with her. Like, she hadn't had any trot work done since I acquired her. So she'd only done walking work, and so all her trot conditioning was just previous conditioning. And whatever David did. That's what I mean, like whatever. But he didn't do trot work on her. He wasn't like trotting.
Right, for miles.
Yeah. So everything we were doing was built on,
previous.
Correct.
Well, and they do gain it back so quickly. Mm-hmm. And then their whole fitness is completely different.
Yes.
Once they're fit for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so we did the ride together 2 weeks ago. And then this last weekend when I competed, I went on one ride in between. It was only because it was hunting and I kind of wanted to get out on meadow and steel. And it was 5-6 miles and we're mostly just stopping, looking. It wasn't hard, but I could have done nothing.
Yeah.
The rest. And I think that's one thing this is why you have to have so many if you're in endurance, because when I was doing consistently 50s with Jet and Cowboy a few years ago, like, oh my gosh, I have nobody to ride. They both need to rest 3 weeks now. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, and I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts, and the one guy I was listening to said that, rest is as important as work. Mm-hmm. And if you do a 50 every month or every 3 weeks, then that's it. That's
what you're doing.
Yeah, you've done a 50.
You might go on one little walk ride,
yeah, like you're not,
and then trot them out before you put them in the trailer to be sure they're sound. Mm-hmm. But yeah, once they're fit, they're fit. So, and that is why 3 is the ideal number to compete with.
Oh, this is so dangerous. Julia and I cannot be friends. I'm trying to figure out what mule is going to be my backup mule for next year. And I have Cowgirl, but Cowgirl is so lazy.
But we'll see trotting. Yeah, because we have big plans for next year.
We're going to do our practice rides this fall, and we'll see how Cowgirl is. She is so slow going downhill, and I'm not even joking. I've never rode anything that goes, it's called 4 low, and it is so slow.
Well, Meadow has that, and then how I deal with it is I hopped off, and I kind of jog down the hill, and then I keep shoving carrots at her and apples, and she's like, oh, there goes the food truck. So she follows me.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for Lynx because of her little long legs.
Yeah,
and she looks so dressage-y, and she's so steady on the trail, and she'll do anything. She doesn't spook at stuff.
The time you dragged an entire tree through your stirrup was when I fell in love with her.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. She did good. So she was 3. It was her second trail ride. Mm-hmm. Ever, and we went out front all day, and she was ripping. I mean, she was cruising. She was so excited. And that's the other thing is after I rode her with that, she can really walk fast.
And that's what Steel has that too.
Yes.
It's if you have to walk, but you have a 5 mile an hour walk, it's good.
Yeah.
Meadows
Cora.
It's the slow-mo too.
Slower.
It's oh my gosh.
Yeah. Cora can walk fast. Mm-hmm. Cora doesn't always want to walk fast.
Mm-hmm.
She sandbags me. She's I know how long this is going to be. I have an internal clock here, and my tachometer is saying that
I'm going to save some energy.
Save some of this. Literally.
She's smart.
No, she's so smart. When we did Spruce Mountain, we did the 2 back-to-back 25s. In the last 2 miles, we weren't going to make clock. We were going to time out. And I was behind that lady and her whole horse, and I was like, excuse me, I don't want to be rude, but we're not going to make time if we keep this pace. So I'm I'm going to try to go around and see if she'll go. And Cora and I loped 2 miles back to camp. I passed these other horses. I'm coming by. I'm sorry, I want to make time. And I ran by these horses, on a full gallop, and we walked in, pulse down, and we won best vet condition both days. And I'm you know what, Cora? You sandbagged me. And even the second day on the 30 with you at Black Hills, when we were riding with Chris, he was kind of wanting to lope back. And Cora was all right, I'll do this. I'm no, we're not. And she holds it in, but like you were saying,
so good.
So good for the 50s.
Yeah. And she drinks every time there's an opportunity.
Not in the morning, though. I mean, she's kind of in the morning, but afternoon she don't pass water.
Yeah,
she's good, and she eats. Yep. She takes really good care of herself.
She'll do great in 50s
if she'll mentally do it. My other mule Molly, TJ, tried to do 50s with her, and Molly was like, "Oh no, I'm done. This is not." We did our 30, we did our 25, whatever. We're not doing that. And she refused. So I'm really hoping.
I wonder if he had anybody to ride with to.
I don't know. I didn't, but she was he tricked her into it a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And then she was like, no, And then he's like, well, do I want to fight with her about this to get her to do 50s or just let her excel at 25s and 30s? Because he had an Arab that he was doing 50s on.
Okay.
So he was doing 50s on his Arab and then LDs on her.
So it worked.
Or eventually he quit riding the Arab and just rode Molly LDs. So.
Yeah.
And Molly is still in AERC, like number 4 in the country for the top LD miles. Like my little Molly mule.
I haven't ever looked that up. So you've looked it up under mule?
No, it's on in AERC LD.
Oh, just in LDs?
In LDs.
Not any breed?
No breed.
Oh, my gosh.
So she's like number 4 in the country for the most LD miles, top 4 in AERC history. Molly is.
Wow.
Miss Molly Mule. You can look her up in there.
That is so cool.
It's cool.
And so you got Molly and Cora
together.
Yep.
But Molly has tendon issues,
yeah.
and she's 23 now. She could probably still do it, but she had bowed tendons, and we don't need to do that to her. Molly's retired. She gets to walk, and she gets to eat, and I pet her, and I fly spray her every day and comb her, and
she's happy.
That's her life. She gets fed.
Yeah. My retired endurance 3/4 Arab is in Conifer, Colorado, teaching kid lessons in summer camp, and he thinks it's the best job ever.
What do you think about going the transition from like an Arabian to riding a mule? What was that like for you?
That I've always loved, like the challenge of what does this animal need? So like my 3/4 Arab cowboy that I did a lot with, he's not as easy to manage as an Arab, but I like that. Like, oh, he needs a little more. He needs more apples. He needs more water. He needs more electrolytes. He needs a little more time off, So I don't know. There's something about providing the right care that's super motivating for me. And then with the mules, it's that next level of, well, this, when we first got Davy, we called him our wildebeest. These are like mythical creatures. So what do they need? Less, more, I can definitely say, and I've always believed that hills are the most important thing you can do for training. And we live in the mountains. So we're doing bigger than hills. We're doing mountains.
Yeah.
So huge advantage. But I feel that they have accommodated into endurance really easily. So I think the potential is unlimited. And like I said, when I first trotted on Meadow, her speed and her easy swinging shoulder, that she would definitely be a 50-miler. And I have a connection with Meadow and had it pretty quickly. So I feel like she'll be my main girl for a long time, I'm hoping. But yeah, it's the biology of the electrolyting and the nutrition and knowing. And then I think with her, it's a little easier because I feel like she will do anything for me. So that's neat. And a horse you can push, and a mule you ask.
You have to have a conversation. Like the things I was asking Cora, it was really interesting coming back the last day on the second 30 with you. She was tired, more tired than your mules were. And so we would trot, and then I would literally give her a 5 count. She'd walk. And if I tried to kick her before the 5 count, she would just pin her ears at me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going. And she'd swish her tail. Give me like a backward dirty look, which she does also when I'm doing the trot out at the end. She's like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to. But if I gave her a full 5 count, then ask her to trot, then she'd willingly do it. And I had listened to another podcast from another rider, and she was talking about doing Tevis. And she's like, when I could tell he was just kind of getting tired towards the end of the ride, she's like, even if I just gave him 5 seconds, she's like, give him 5 seconds of walking and then ask him to do the job again. And she's like, he'd do it every time, and just give him that 5 seconds to rest. So that's one thing I did lean on with her is, okay, she feels like she needs something. We have to negotiate about it. Okay, what is it that you need? And it will take you time with your equine to figure out what they're trying to tell you. And with Cora, I was like, I need 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I'll do this for you. Yeah. And then I'll lope because I'm behind.
No, when you have that connection, communication, it is just it's just incredible.
And it takes you have to figure out what they're trying to say, you know, like, without, you know, obviously verbal communication. It goes into that energy field as well, too, of, you know, you can feel when they've refreshed. You can feel their body kind of come back into, okay, I'm ready to break into this rhythm, or I'm ready. And then like yours, it was really awesome. Yours were learning the trail, like watching you ride. They knew where to slow down. And then when there was a flat spot in the trail, they're like, oh, we're going to pick up a trot. This is where we're supposed to trot. And they would just do it. It was awesome.
Yeah. I didn't. And that happened within just probably 2-3 miles.
Yeah.
They realized every chance that you can trot. And I mean, they love it. They love to move out.
That's one thing. I listen to a lot of writers talk about when to walk, when to trot, when to lope. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know? Like, I go out on my first ride and by myself. I'm like, how do I know? I'm like, I don't know. And my first ride was very flat. I could have loped
the whole thing.
Pretty much. I could have loped the whole thing. I mean, if you had if you had that horse, you could have not. My Cora was not loping the whole thing. But you could have. The conditions, the terrain, the footing was just spectacular for that type of riding. But with the more technical rides like Black Hills, it's, you know, on the uphills and downhills in the rocks, you walk where you have to. Mm-hmm. You trot where you can, and then lope where you can get away with it. Yeah. Because there's not very many places you can really lope.
Not on that ride.
On that ride, you know.
Well, and it's interesting. So, like, Cowboy and Jet, I was competing on them together for several years. And Jet's heart rate, this is when I was riding with all the technology. Now I'm just kind of old school. And I actually might not even move forward with a heart rate monitor because I'm really enjoying this not having the information and just reading the animal. Mm-hmm. But there's so much information when you ride with a heart rate monitor. And so through the heart rate monitor, I learned that Jet at a trot, his heart rate was usually around 110. When he would move into a beautiful canter, his heart rate would drop to 85. So there's a horse that's more efficient at a canter. So now I know, it's best for him to canter because look at all the energy he's saving. And then Cowboy was opposite. He was about 92 at a trot. And then when he would canter, he'd be 165.
Yeah, really high.
So it's like, no, that's not good. So it's interesting. This winter, I'm going to think about it and decide because I'm actually enjoying, you know, we're finishing well. The monitor you can also have times, right, where the monitor doesn't pick up right, or you know, sometimes I would have the monitor be like, it's 300, and you're like, no, it's actually not. Yeah. So the monitor can lead you astray. It's, you know, I'm a nurse, so it's always like you look at the patient, not the monitor. But there's so much information to be gained from one, but I'm also enjoying not having it. And actually, it might even be the same couple. There's a couple that I rode with. It was Steele's first loop. Steele was leading them, and he is a retired anesthesiologist, super great guy. He just had a stethoscope, and that's all I have. And
I think it was the same guy.
They said they were at that ride. They were the nicest couple.
Yes, they're the cutest old couple.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so cute.
They were fantastic riders, amazing horses.
Oh, her horse is exquisite.
Yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, he just had a stethoscope that he checked at the end so he would know. And I told him I was going old school, and they said, we have too. We used to ride with monitors and everything, and now we just ride for feel. And so that was kind of encouraging because I haven't really paid attention to the percentages, but I feel like more people are riding with more information. Sure. But yeah, and I think something about having a mule too. I do have a confidence that the mule is going to take care of itself better than, say, like my Arabian Jet, who always had race brain. So he's going to push beyond his limitations.
So you have to, as the rider, really police that.
Yeah.
Because the horse won't necessarily do it himself.
Yep. And Meadow, I don't have to police Meadow. No. Meadow is like, this is my pace. Oh, look, someone passed us. Oh, that was pretty. Yeah. You know, oh, I'm leading somebody. Look at me go. Yeah. You know, she's happy either way. So
walk everybody through that's listening the vet process, because I think that is also... people don't understand that there's paid vets that are at these checks that are monitoring the health of the equines that are going through there. So when we get to ride camp the first night before we ride in the morning, your equine has to go through a veterinary examination where just explain what they're checking when they check the gums, the cap refill and the jugular refill and their muscle tension and all of that stuff.
So much of it is hydration. So the capillary refill, lift up the gums or lift up the lips and press on the gums. The jugular refill, of course, at the neck. Skin tenting, kind of pinch the skin. If it stays tented, there's dehydration. Then they're listening to the 4 quadrants for gut sounds. And then, of course, heart rate. And the finish of most rides is usually under 60. If it's super hot and humid, they might make the ride 65 that day or make an adjustment during the ride. They're also looking at anal tone. They're shaking the muscles at the back. They're checking for wounds and girth galls. And Steele got a girth gall on his first ride, and then the second ride I was able to modify and make sure it stayed further back so that didn't happen again.
His was so mild though.
It wasn't something you'd get pulled over. It wasn't bleeding.
No,
it was just a little hair missing. And then that same check happens after in a 25. Often you go 15 and then you're checked again. And then what's added in the middle of the ride is the cardiac recovery index, which is very, very important. And so you check the heart rate, trot out, come back, and then a minute later they check the heart rate again. And if the heart rate has gone up, that is an indication that there is some stress on the cardiovascular system, likely related to hydration. So then it's, all right, we really need to drink. And that would be something. So in a 25, if I've had that happen, and I did have that happen both rides, or I guess, no, just one ride with Steele this on Saturday, but Steele overrode himself and I just hung on. But so his cardiac index went up. He went from 52 to 64.
And that's where she said you overrode him.
Yeah, and I didn't defend myself because it would have taken too long to explain, but I just smiled. It's like, well, he overrode himself. I had no brakes. Yeah. But, I mean, the only way to have stopped that would have been to have gotten off.
Or rolled the hinds, rolled the fronts, or who knows.
Rider option. Yeah. I'm out, But I also knew he would pulse down and we'd get a hold of this. But if he had that, let's say it was a 50, and that happened at my first hold, if it happened again at the second hold, I wouldn't continue in a 50 because now I've had 2 vet checks where the index has increased. So now I'm at risk. But for an LD, okay, so I had the one, and then he drank really great. He ate. At the end, he stayed the same.
Yeah.
So then his cardiac index was 62 to 62 or 60 to 62. It was much better. So it's like, okay.
This is where the eating and the drinking on these rides becomes so critically important.
But yeah, the vets are very, very important. And then they're also, checking for lameness, back tenderness.
I got lucky on that one at the Black Hills because I didn't have shoes on Cora.
Yeah.
And she took a chunk out of her hooves on her front hoof, and I heard it strike, and I was like, oof, that's not good. And luckily there was a farrier that was in camp. Yeah. She was not lame. She was sound, and we put shoes on her that night so I could continue riding her the next day. But that, I had done the other rides, but it's different. I mean, it's all different conditions.
Yeah, and Steele's never had shoes in his whole life, and we did the ride, and then I put shoes on that same farrier. He was so good, and he was at the ride yesterday, and he's fantastic farrier. And then we had shoes for Fort Robinson, which was nice.
Yeah. No, it's good. And that's something next year I'm just going to proactively put shoes on Cora.
Yeah.
And just have them on her for the season.
Meadow needs shoes.
Yeah.
Forever.
Cora has white feet. So, I mean, they're just softer. Softer little twinkle toes. But no, it is so fascinating doing this in the relationship with your equine. What I want to practice this fall is some moonlight riding.
Oh, yes. That's my favorite. I love to ride in the dark.
I've never done it. And if
hunting?
Yeah, a little bit, not a lot. We don't do a ton of night riding.
Okay.
But when we will next week actually do some more night riding.
Yeah.
Because we will do more evening riding. But the mules go very fast at night, it seems like. And they want to get back to camp. And you're like, okay. And you're like, all right, we can slow this down. It's like a freight train going through the dark. But I do want to practice night riding where we're trotting and doing some of that. Because when we get to doing 50s, there is a chance. Like at Spruce Mountain, those 50s, they start in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And you're in the fall, you're
in the dark.
You're going to dark. Well, and here's a really neat thing. There's a ride up in Minnesota, Huntersville. Something is coming up in a couple weeks, and they're doing a really fun thing. So you do a 25 in the morning, and then in the evening when it's dark, you go out and do another 25.
Oh.
And then the next morning, you do another 25. So you're doing 75 in 30-some hours.
That's cool.
Yes. And Jen Masters, who's a very good friend of mine from Texas, and now she lives in the Black Hills, and she's putting on rides there. She's very interested in doing something similar at one of her rides.
Yes.
So I love it. And there's also elevator rides, which I really like, where you go out and you set out and you're doing 25. And then it's going so well.
You decide you're going to do 50.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going. And I wish that the Fort Robinson ride had been an elevator because Steele needed
the 50.
Yes.
He's like, I got to go. Let's go. Well,
right.
So let's give a recap really quick of some of the rides that we're talking about doing next year.
Mm-hmm.
So if viewers or listeners want to maybe join us in ride camp somewhere, Jen's doing some rides at the last weekend in May.
Yeah, she's hoping to get one the last weekend in May, and then so that'll be
July.
somewhere in Black Hills. Then she'll have Fort Meade in the Black Hills, 4th of July, and then
Spanish Peak.
Yeah, we're really excited for Spanish Peaks. And a little plug for AERC has it's called a Green Bean group. I was part of the Blazing Bells. Once a bell, always a bell.
Oh yeah.
It was fantastic, and those are some of my best friends. And that's one thing we haven't even touched on. I mean, I think obviously people can tell we have this great friendship, but the friends that you make in endurance, they're very, very special, and it's something so unique and interesting, and there's so many challenges with it. And then but the Green Bean was really fun. There was 5 of us, and we had our own little Facebook group, and we would say, I just heard that this type of fatty feed is good to feed on the rides. And then somebody else would say, what about this and what about that? And then I have always been fortunate. I have the most amazing mentor. Her name's Karen Bumgartner. She's in Idaho, and she's got, I think, 28,000 competition miles.
Wow.
With a 97% completion rate.
Incredible.
Yeah, she's a legend. And she has mentored me on and off for probably 17 years and has been gracious and kind and absolutely amazing. So there's so many people out there with the wealth and knowledge. But yeah, I hope that this podcast gets a whole lot of new people wanting to try it.
It's so fun.
Whether it's on a horse or a mule, but
we love you mule people, though.
I know.
Come on,
it'd be so fun to get more mules out there.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't need to sleep at night.
No.
Yesterday morning, we heard one of your mules talking a lot, and I said, yeah, Meadow was really excited about today. And that was one of the things when, I was all set to start this spring, and then I said to my husband, I don't know if I can take Meadow to ride camp and ruin everybody's sleep. I don't think I can do it. Well, I've done it now, and once you've done it, it's like, okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, I was camped next to a horse at my first ride, and it screamed and whinnied all night long. So it's not just the mules.
No, it isn't just the mules.
It's not just the mules.
They're just consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it depends,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you should feel bad about that. So the great thing about AERC is that you have a ride record. So like Cora, my mule, has a ride record that stays with her for life. So she has her own serial number, and regardless of who owns her, that number goes with her. She's currently registered to me. I'm her owner. But if I were to sell her or transfer her and you wanted to start riding on her, you could take over her ride record. And I have my own ride record, or the individual has their own ride record as well. So their ride record is independent of the equine. So, for example, if you go and you do a ride and neither you or your equine finishes a ride, neither one of you gets miles. But if you go do a ride on a different equine, you still get the miles. But that equine gets the miles as well, independent of you. So it's kind of fun because you can actually go online if somebody says, oh, yeah, I've done AERC endurance, and you want to see before you buy the equine, you can see how many rides they've done, how many miles, their completion times. You can see if they have been removed from a ride because of lameness or metabolic issues or different types of lamenesses. There's different grades of lameness. And so you can go into a rider option of pulling. So you can go in and it's a full database of every ride that animal's ever done. So you can kind of verify if somebody says, oh yeah, this one's really fast, it wins everything. And then you're like, are you kidding me? You were 26th place out of 26. So you were the turtle. But you just go verify, or if you can see a frequent lameness issue. So maybe somebody's trying to sell you a prospect for endurance, and you go in their ride record and they've been pulled for lameness 5 times. Yeah. So you may, have some caution in a pre-purchase exam before you buy that equine, so it's really fun too. You can totally creep on animals and people and.
Yeah. And same thing. If you want to be a catch rider where you can go out and ride for somebody else, they'll look at your ride record. Yeah. I want you to ride slow. Oh, I can see you do ride slow. Versus, every catch ride you've done, you've gotten pulled. Yeah. Yeah. So
that's the other thing. If you don't have an equine of your own, you can show up at some of these rides and catch ride with people, and they'll either ride with you or they will give you instructions on how they want you to ride. And it's your job to be responsible and respectful to, if you're going to borrow their equine. Some people will have you catch ride if they're trying to condition more than one for greater distances and they have too many. So they'll have somebody come catch ride for them. And, if you do that enough on the same equine, it's probably nice if you do something for them because they're paying for all the vet and it's not cheap.
And then juniors need sponsors. So if the junior's parent isn't able to ride, doesn't ride, then they need a sponsor. And so I think only one time I had the opportunity to sponsor a junior, and it was really fun. He was on a great horse. So yeah, you just learn so much from each other. And then I think for someday when we do 100.
Yes, we're going to do. I want to do Virginia City.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to do one wherever there's grass.
Oh, Virginia City, I don't think has grass. It's Nevada. I don't know. I think we're out on that one.
Well, we'll have a really great crew, and
we didn't talk about crewing. Let's talk about crewing. Yeah. That's the other fun thing that people, when you do these longer rides, a lot of times your friends and family have the opportunity to help you. Even on our Black Hills ride, your husband, Andy, was amazing. Yep. And he came and crewed for us.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Yeah, and yesterday...
Well, explain what crewing is, I guess. Also, we should back up what that is. Crewing is where your friends or family meet you at these different checkpoints along the trail, and they bring you with supplies. So maybe when you get off, they take your horse to water so you can go to the bathroom, or so that you can eat food, or so that you can do whatever you need to do for your own self-care while your mule or horse is also getting cared for. They can trot them for the vet if you want them to, and they can do all of those things for you so that you can take care of yourself as a rider. And especially if you're doing something like a 24-hour 100, having help is really important. Even at Black Hills, our rest period was 40 minutes, which sometimes it's 60, sometimes it just varies, but it was 40. It was short. So by the time I had a snack and I fed Cora and I got water, I'm like, we got to go again.
Yeah, we got to get back on.
It went so fast. Yeah. So having help is obviously just gives you a chance to just drop the reins, if you will. And
yeah. Well, this weekend I was alone, but Fort Robinson had many campers that were not part of the endurance experience. Mm-hmm. And my neighbor was a guy named Ray, and he was just really interested in everything. And he watched us set out in the morning, and he waited for us to come back.
Oh.
And he said, I've been watching, what can I do to help? And I said, oh, if you could pull the apples and carrots out of Meadow's bag and put them in this bag, then meet me up at the vet. And he did. And then he said, what else can I do? And I said, my saddle pad is wet. Can you flip it out and put it in the sun? And so all those little things. Yeah. And he was so excited to help. And he ended up spending 2 days watching endurance just because
it was fascinating.
He was there. He's in his 70s. He's from Nebraska. He just thought it was like the neatest thing. He didn't even know it was a thing.
Well, he does now.
Yeah. So it's great to get that help. And then yesterday, or one of the days, the hold was out, and there were several people when we came up. Do you need to use the bathroom? I'll hold your horse. Mm-hmm. Do you, and helped bridle and saddle and all those things. When you're in a hold at your trailer or your pen, in a lot of ways it's easier. But I do really like the holds that are out on trail because they're not saying it's over. Yeah. They know it's not over.
Yeah, when you go back to the trailer, sometimes they're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I thought we were done with this part. What do you mean we're still going?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what Cora did on the second day. She's like, we're in ride camp, and it's like she was literally bobbing for apples in water.
Yeah.
She's like, I was bobbing for apples back there, and I didn't have a saddle on, and it's like hot. And so it is easier, I feel like, mentally, especially when you're first beginning, because it is a little confusing, the out and back and stopping and going and from trailer, from camp, or it can be a little confusing for the equine, but they do figure it out. And for the most part, I think they're all pretty willing, minded.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like it. I think ours all enjoyed it. Yours were. I was so heartened. Because when we started the second day, you started with Meadow, and you were so concerned because you had those herdbound issues, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna." Your stress level was through the roof.
She was walking sideways and possibly running. People did have to move.
Yeah, she wasn't horrible. She's
like slow motion naughty.
Fine. Yeah. But your stress level was up, and I'm like, okay, I felt it for you. And then once we got out there, I think it felt like you were surprised. Like you're like,
yeah,
she's doing it.
She's who I thought she could be.
Yeah.
Well, and I think some of mine was a PTSD too, because I had the most perfect mule that I thought I had ever had, and I got her a year ago-ish June, and probably put 1,000 miles on her, and was going to compete her, and was just getting her fit and getting to know her. And we were hunting in November, and without any warning, she bucked, and she launched me higher than I've ever been bucked, and I landed on my back and was lucky to walk away from it. And so I still have, there's definitely times where like
fear.
Meadow gets mad. I want to stay. I'm going to walk sideways. Does she decide just to launch me? So that is going to take a couple more rides probably to
get through
that. And it was completely unexpected. There was no warning. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like any other. I've sat a lot of bucks in my life.
Yeah.
It was very unique.
The one thing about this sport, if you will, is, things can go sideways quickly. Mm-hmm. But one thing I found is, like, with the spooks and stuff, you're already going fast. I mean, you can only go so fast. I mean, like, okay, well, they're going to bolt. Okay, well, you're already going, unless they run blindly and take you out under trees or, other things like that, which, that is a characteristic of that equine that's different than just, something scared me, I'm going to go a little bit faster, because Cora will scoot a little on me. But it does take confidence. But there are a lot of elderly people. I say elderly people, like
80s.
in their 80s.
Yeah.
And they're riding, and it's amazing.
When back in, it was probably 2010 in Tennessee, I did a ride, and there was a man then who was in his mid to late 80s, and he was winning every 50. And it's funny because I had a couple of friends say, oh, I'm so glad you're back to doing endurance, and it's awesome, and age isn't a number, and, you're 61 and you're out there, and I'm like, 61 this is nothing. I mean, like, come and see endurance. There's people in their 80s, and I just feel like there's not as many horse sports that keep their older people as long. Even like backcountry horsemen. A lot of those people are my age, and they're like, they've also worked Forest Service and hard. They've worked a lot of physical jobs, typically backcountry horsemen. But, and I feel like a lot of the retired endurance riders are teachers, nurses, physicians, a lot of medical people. Yeah. Because there's such a medical component to it. But so many people in their 80s. And I mean, that's my dream is
to be 80 doing it.
Definitely. Yeah. On meadow.
Yeah. Easy. Well, and that's the thing, like Cora's 8. Oh. And we could easily do, 10 years together on the trail. 28 years old, still going.
Yeah. How old was you might know because you're listening to lots of podcasts, but 3-4 years ago, the horse that won Tevis, wasn't he like 26?
29 or 26, something like that. Yeah, he was quite old. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, I can't recall.
And Tevis, we're going to do a different 100 first.
Yeah.
And
we're
then
not going to start with Tevis.
We're not going to start with Tevis because we're like,
it's like
mid-packers.
16 or 19,000 feet of elevation. I can't remember what
19,000.
19,000.
It's 19,000. And Andy and I did a ride recently. We'll do it next year. It was the back way to Gem Lake.
Gotcha.
We went to Gem Lake.
Yes.
But we went an easier route. Andy and I finally went in the back way. And it was a 5,000-foot climb. And I said, wow. So if we do this 4 more times.
That's the Tevis.
That's Tevis. And so we can certainly train for Tevis. And a lot of people who do Tevis don't have the ability to.
Yeah. Or they live in cool.
Yeah. But also I was listening to, I think it was Karen Chatton, her podcast the other day. She was in it, and at the bottom down in those canyons, it was 120 degrees. Well, I mean, I can't even handle 70. No. So
the heat.
So we'll pick a cool one.
There is people that go down, I guess they go kind of off trail to the river. There's some water down there. You can go and cool your horses. Mm-hmm. Some people do it. And then some people are like, nope, we just keep going. Yeah. And so it's rider option, I guess, how you handle it. And so also your equine, mules are so good in the heat.
Yeah, they are.
They do so good. That hybrid vigor, they do so good in the heat. And I have been flirting with getting now an Arabian mule. And I'm like, am I losing my mind? I don't know about this. Well, I'm pausing for a minute.
I do think that Meadow is either Arabian or Morgan mule. And she spooked consistently at rocks yesterday.
That
and
definitely
all of my
hints
Arabs,
to an Arabian.
Right? It's like they're desert bred. There aren't rocks. I mean, every Arab I've had is spooked at rocks. Nothing else but rocks.
My Arab never spooked at anything.
Oh, he's such a good guy.
Just like,
Fury's amazing.
He was so easy. He just stumbled. He was a very stumbly horse. Mm-hmm. Like mostly in flat ground. Like he would be going on across a field and just be like looking around and not paying attention at his feet at all. And he'd be like, okay, I tripped. But just because he's like lollygagging and he's got so much movement and that's so funny. But someday I definitely want to do 100, which is why I'm like, man, I don't know that Cora is the mule for that.
We'll know after 50s.
We'll know. But she's doing back-to-back 30s. Like our back-to-back 30 for Black Hills was 8,000 feet elevation.
So she does 50s, no problems. I would think that she would do 100. I mean, I think that's where all the mental will really come in, and
That's where the relationship comes in.
Yeah.
Especially with a mule.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are mules that attempt the Tevis quite frequently. It's not like people aren't trying it on mules. They definitely are.
Yeah. Well, and then there was that famous mule that, I mean, he wasn't like, we're endurance riders. He wasn't really an endurance rider. He's like, I'm going to go do this thing. Oh, I got to go do a couple rides first. And then he did it and finished great because he just knew he could.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. It's what you make of it, how much you put into it, how much, relationship you're willing to build with your equine. And that's really what it boils down to. And kind of coming up with a plan and having good friends and people around you that'll encourage you. I have what I would call 2 riding accountability partners now. I have you and Christina both. Mm-hmm. And then Maria, obviously I have her too. So almost 3. Maria is like, she and I talk every day about mules and farms and what we're doing with them. But Christina is more like ride focused on curriculum based, what we're doing and, part of master class with Ty. And you and I are more endurance talk, right? So yeah. It is nice to find a community of people, and the only way you're going to meet them is by going. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go. You just show up.
Yep.
And that's the hardest part, is showing up.
And, join a green bean group.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's been highly popular, is the community of we're all learning together and
the cats are being naughty.
Through your keys.
The cats are being naughty. So funny. Anything else that you want to talk about, or that you feel like listeners, viewers that are considering endurance should think about before, like, I've read a couple of books. Man, I wish I would have brought them with me to show the audience. I'll put it in the show notes, the 2 books that I've read on endurance. Mm-hmm. One of them was really good. It was funny and brutally honest, and I really liked that about him. The other one was a little whitewashy, kind of bad cat, kind of more generic. But the one endurance book is really good, and I'll put that in show notes for people to kind of, if you want to find a book and read, just to get some more information. There are some podcasts out there too. Mm-hmm. The Arabian Horse Association was doing a podcast briefly. It doesn't look like there's anything really new. There's like 38. And then there's Endurance Horse Podcast. And then I think there's another one called Trot something. Mm-hmm. I can't recall. So if you do go to your favorite podcast stations, you can do what I've been doing in Podcast Purge and get some additional information as well.
Well, I think when because I had that break about 5 years where I didn't compete, when mm-hmm. I came back, and you're like, oh, come on, just do the next one with me. And at the same time you're telling me that, it's my friend Jen's ride, and Jen is like, Julia, just come and do it. And I was like, well, this and well that, and Meadow doesn't, I'm worried about this and that. And she just, like, in capital letters, don't overthink it. Yeah. And when, I just spent the weekend, spent a lot of time with her, and it was just really, really fun. And she's just like, I'm so glad you're back, and you didn't overthink it. And I said, yeah, maybe coming back as my part 2 in endurance is, I'm not using a monitor. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to ride and enjoy. Yeah. 'Cause I can definitely get type A with the details. Sure. But it is so enjoyable. And then I think the biggest thing is any animal can do it. People are on drafts. There was a guy yesterday on an Irish sport horse. Wow. It was gorgeous. Yeah. Lots of, gaited horses are getting so popular. Sure. Gaited horses.
Mustangs.
Yeah, Mustangs. Oh, well, yeah, it was a Mustang that led us yesterday. Yeah, that's Mustangs. Right. So, I mean, they're really an Icelandic. I have an Icelandic, and there's Icelandics in endurance, and hopefully Floki will make his appearance next year. That's why I got him.
On the 50s.
Yeah, so you can do it on anything. Animal. Mm-hmm.
And one of the advice that one of the ladies told me at Spruce Mountain is, if your equine will travel at a consistent 6-mile-an-hour pace, you can finish any ride healthy, pretty much, unless you have something with lameness or something come up. But that is a pace where you can typically finish a ride and finish it healthy. And that should be like the gold star in goals.
Absolutely. And it really is, if you trot or canter wherever you can, and you walk for footing or for hills
where you have to,
you'll finish.
That's right.
So, and then if you're somebody that you want to become really competitive, then
Give her.
Yeah.
Give her.
Yeah, go do it. And then you buy the animal that you think is going to be the fastest, the breeding, the Arab off the racetrack, whatever that looks like for you. Yeah. But just to be able to get in it, if you've got a Clydesdale now and want to try it, do it. Yeah. And if you get hooked and you're like, I want to fly, then change to something faster. But
upgrade your sports car.
Yeah, but fast is not. And it's never been, I've never wanted to go fast. I love steady. Mm-hmm. And it's probably because that's how when I compete, when I was racing bikes, I just steady. Yeah. Triathlons, I'm just steady. So I relate to steady. I'm not speedy.
That's your dog. And for those of you that are listening only and not watching, it is like wildlife safari here. I'm trying to tune out the dogs and the cat.
And then we have Davy Crockett, the original mule's eye.
Yeah, we
watching over
dogs
us.
And cats, and it's ball time, and they are seriously.
It's the dryer ball.
They're really upset with Julia because she has been ignoring them for over an hour now, and so we have kittens, and it's 2 kittens and a dog that are all extremely needy right now, especially the dog. He's like, I really would like some attention, and anyway. It was good to sit down with you.
Really fun.
Yeah, really fun. And we hope to see you all at a ride with us. And I want to thank the people that sponsor this podcast and make it possible. We've got Ruger Marlin Firearms, Safari Club International, and OnX Hunt. So you guys, if you use code WILD20. Oh, yeah, OnX.
So OnX.
We need to talk about OnX on the trail. Yeah.
OnX, I love you because I use you all the time. But yesterday and this weekend at Fort Robinson, when they had the site map up, and they're all labeled, here's Cemetery Hill, here's this, here's that. And you and me.
On Black Hills.
Yeah, Black Hills. We're like pulling up OnX. We're dropping pins.
Well,
we're going to go here.
God
we're going to go
there. We
there.
did drop some pins on where the stops were because the trail was a little confusing.
Yeah. OnX is an incredible tool.
Yes. And you can You can trace your path so that you know, like, when you're coming back, hey, this is the right spot, or when you're, going out. And you can also track your pace.
Well, and it's how I found out that, so I saved my tracks, and that's how I found out yesterday there was 3,100 feet of climbing. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't using OnX. Yeah. I mean, maybe other apps, but I mean, we hunt so much, so it's the app.
Yeah, we already have it paid for, so you may as well use it for this as well. And so if you use code WILD20 during your online checkout, you can save 20% on a new OnX Elite membership, which is awesome to have for endurance as well. And there are some rides out there that they don't mark trails. They actually just give a download map. And I don't know what system they're using, but
Gaia. Yeah. So that was interesting. Yesterday or a couple days ago, they sent me, here's the Gaia maps. And I'm like, I don't know how to use this. I have Gaia, but I've been using OnX for so long. I don't think I can make the transition tonight. Yeah. So I didn't, but obviously if the trails aren't going to be marked and they're using something,
they have to use
I'll learn it.
Yeah. But it is a great resource, and especially if you're training, you want to see how far you've gone, you want to check your pace. Yeah. That's one thing we would do when we were riding too, is we would check, okay, this is our pace so far, and we could kind of like, if we keep this pace, we're not going to finish. We have to try to maximize our time or speed or opportunities for speed within time. Or, hey, you know what, at this pace, we've got 2 miles left and we've got 35 minutes. So we're good. You know what I mean? Yeah. So all of that is really good. You can kind of average it all out with OnX and get with your ride managers ahead of time and mark those pins for your stops and any type of trail obstacles. Hopefully they're using it too. So it is a really great resource.
Yeah, I love it.
So anyway, that's all we got. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Julia, for sitting down with me. And we're going to do another one of these next year after our first 50. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, my first 50. It won't be your first 50.
But it'll be my mule's first 50.
Yeah. But I'll be a newbie. Like, I just rode for 12 hours.
And just
straight trotting.
We'll be starting with a 50.
Yeah.
Because we're going to train really great this winter.
We're going to train great. Well, especially if I go to Utah.
Yeah. Yeah. Be ready.
That's the goal. We're going to do it. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all later on the next episode. There are a lot of Americans that understand the value of hunting, but we all know that right now, national support of hunting is extremely volatile. It seems that with every passing day, our voice is diminished and the court of public opinion is not effectively hearing our side. We need advocates working on our behalf in Washington, D.C. to defend our freedom to hunt. And thankfully, when we need it the most, we have that advocate in Safari Club International. SCI's world headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the United States Capitol, which means that SCI is on the ground with our congressional leaders and federal agencies on our behalf, on behalf of the hunting community. SCI has an active political presence in all 50 states through their extensive chapter network and government affairs staff. If you have ever wondered why you should be a member of SCI, you shouldn't wonder anymore. Join us in the fight to defend hunting. Go to safariclub.org to learn more. Thank you all for listening to the Wild and Uncut podcast. If you would like to hear more, be sure to not only watch, but subscribe to my Pursue the Wild digital series airing on Carbon TV and YouTube. And while you're at it, follow me at Kristy Titus on Facebook and Instagram.